Welcome back. It's 8:41. There have been an awful lot of opinions about President Trump's recent executive order, the one that stops folks from certain countries from traveling to the U.S. But what does a U.S. president have the legal authority to do, and what does all this mean for you? Well, here today with what you need to know is lifestyle expert Shari. Good morning. It's good to see you again.
Thanks.
Well, it's a lot to hash over this morning, so let's begin with exactly what is a presidential executive order.
Sure. So the Constitution established our three branches of government, which is Congress and the courts and the president, and gave the president not the right to issue an executive order, but the responsibility to make sure our laws are executed. And over time, the executive order evolved as a way for him to do that. So the executive order is essentially law, and they've actually been used for some really good purposes over the years. So Truman and Eisenhower, for example, used executive orders to desegregate the military and schools. It's a very important tool in our country's history.
All right, so yeah, it's been around a long time, and if a U.S. president is authorized by our Constitution to do this, then why has President Trump's recent executive order become such a big deal and so much outcry about it?
Yeah, well, there's two reasons, really. First of all, terrorism and freedom of religion and due process are all very important topics that are going to get our attention. There are so many people impacted by this, and the optics, of course, are also very attention-grabbing. But the other reason, John, really has to do with politics as usual, because in our system, the Constitution, as I said, established three branches, and those three branches are allowed to check each other. And so the president can check Congress, Congress can check the president, vice versa, as well as the court systems. And so the struggle of power is something that we have always seen throughout history with Andrew Jackson. We saw it with Roosevelt. We've seen it even in our lifetime with Clinton, or Nixon tried to use his executive powers, and then the court in the Watergate case said, no, you can't use those executive powers for that. So one of the things we're seeing here is just the struggle for power between the three branches of government right now.
All right, with that said, what can we expect next? What's going to happen? What does it mean for us?
Right. So, and here's the thing. The bottom line is that our system is going to work. It's working now, and we all need to support that. So the president issues an executive order, which the Constitution says he can do. And then essentially representatives of some citizens in our country invoked the court system by filing a lawsuit to say, we want you to check out this executive order and make sure it's allowed, make sure it doesn't violate our Fifth Amendment, our First Amendment, and so forth. That's where we are right now in the process. The court system is basically checking the president. So it will go through first the district court, now it's at the appeal court level. Eventually it will get to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will decide on those constitutional issues. Right now the lower courts are sort of deciding on whether or not, what's going to happen before the Supreme Court decides. So are we going to allow this travel ban to persist, or are we going to kind of pare it back or eliminate it altogether until the Supreme Court rules? But this is how it's supposed to work.
Right. Well said. I mean, and that is about the best explanation I have heard for a very complicated issue that everybody's a little upset about. So thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, let's go over to Felicia and see what